Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into, well, truly one of humanity's most foundational narratives. It's a story of oppression, incredible escape, these profound divine encounters, and really the birth of a whole nation's identity and laws. This isn't just some dry historical account, right? It's a saga packed with drama, unlikely heroes, and deep insights into leadership, faith, and, building a community.
That's absolutely right. Our source material for this deep dive is the book of Exodus. We're covering it all, chapters 1 right through 40. We're going to trace the journey of the Israelites, starting from this brutal slavery in Egypt all the way to the foot of Mount Sinai. That's where they received this comprehensive blueprint for life, for worship, and they start building a sacred space, literally right there among them. Our mission here is to really pull out the most important nuggets, the core knowledge from this ancient text, to give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about what happens and what it all means.
Okay, let's unpack this right from the beginning. We start with Jacob's descendants, just 70 people in total, a small group who settled in Egypt. But here's where it gets really interesting. After Joseph and that whole generation passed away, these Israelites didn't just, hang on. They exploded. The text says they multiplied greatly and exceedingly numerous, basically filling the land.
Yeah, and what's fascinating there is the pivot. The source talks about a new king coming to power, one who did not know about Joseph. This isn't just politics, it's a break from the past. This new Pharaoh sees this population boom, not as a good thing, but as a serious threat. His thinking was explicit. They'd become much too numerous, and he was worried that in a war, they might join Egypt's enemies and, escape. And this fear, this insecurity led straight to ruthless oppression, forced labor, making their lives bitter, building these store cities, Pithom and Ramesses.
And yet, despite these awful conditions, brick and mortar, all kinds of work in the fields, the text tells us something almost defiant. It says the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread. That's just, wow, a paradox, right? The Egyptians actually came to dread the Israelites. Their plan backfired.
Exactly. And this rising dread pushed Pharaoh toward even more extreme measures. How do you control a group that thrives under pressure? His solution escalated dramatically, commanding the Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, to kill all newborn boys. But here we see this incredible act of civil disobedience. The midwives, fearing God more than Pharaoh, they let the boys live. They came up with this clever excuse, saying Hebrew women were vigorous, giving birth too fast. And because of their courage, the text says God was kind to them, and the population kept growing. So Pharaoh's final chilling order was, throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the Nile River.
Okay, so this horrifying decree is in place. How does a leader even emerge from that? Well, the story takes this surprising, almost poetic turn with Moses' birth. His mother, a Levite, hid him for 3 months. But knowing she couldn't hide him forever, she makes this papyrus basket, seals it with tar and pitch like a tiny ark, and places it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. His sister, Miriam, is watching nearby, a desperate act of hope.
That basket detail is so crucial, isn't it? It's this act of faith, but also a direct response to Pharaoh's decree about the river. And the irony is just immense. Pharaoh's own daughter finds the baby in that very river. She feels pity, recognizes him as a Hebrew baby, and then amazingly arranges for his own mother to nurse him, even paying her. Later, she adopts him. She names him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. Talk about destiny intervening.
It's an incredible setup. A Hebrew boy raised right in the heart of Pharaoh's palace. But what's striking is his connection to his own people remained, didn't it? One day as an adult, he goes out and sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people.
Yeah.
And the text says he glanced this way and that, saw no one, killed the Egyptian, and hid the body. A very raw, impulsive act.
Yes, and that act of violence, driven by this fierce sense of justice, it catches up to him fast. The next day, he tries to break up a fight between two Hebrews, and one challenges him directly. Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?
Right.
So his secret's out.
Yeah.
Pharaoh hears about it, wants to kill Moses, forcing him to flee. He escapes to Midian, ends up by a well. Wells are often significant places in these stories.
Right, another well encounter. So in Midian, he defends these daughters of Jethro, a local priest, helps them water their flock. This leads to him marrying Zipporah, one of the daughters, and they have a son, Gershom. The name means, I have become an alien in a foreign land. Pretty fitting. He spends a long time there, maybe decades, just being a shepherd far from Egypt, until the story shifts focus back to the Israelites still suffering, crying out to God.
And that collective cry, that groaning, brings us to maybe the most transformative moment, the burning bush on Horeb, the mountain of God. The angel of the Lord appears in this bush that's on fire but isn't burning up. A
Mm.
powerful image of divine presence that doesn't consume. God reveals himself, linking back to their ancestors, the God of your father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. He declares he's seen their misery, he's heard their cry, and he's coming down to rescue them. And Moses, the shepherd, the fugitive, he's the chosen one for this mission.
So God tells Moses, I'm sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt. But Moses immediately objects. And, who can blame him? His first reaction is, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? What does that tell us?
It really humanizes him, doesn't it? That who am I isn't just false modesty. It feels like genuine inadequacy facing this enormous task, confronting Pharaoh, leading a whole people. God's response is key, I will be with you. It's not about Moses' own strength, it's about God's presence enabling him. Then Moses asks God's name, maybe wanting some kind of authority to cite, and he gets that profound, mysterious answer. I am, WHO, I am, or just I am has sent me, a statement about God's fundamental being.
But Moses still hesitates. He brings up a practical problem. What if they do not believe me? What if the Israelites themselves don't trust him?
Right, a very valid concern. And God addresses it directly with immediate proof. 3 powerful signs. His staff turns into a snake and back again. His hand becomes leprous like snow, then instantly healed. And the promise that Nile water will turn to blood on dry land. These aren't just tricks. They're specific visual proofs of divine power meant to convince a skeptical audience that God is truly behind this.
Okay, so he has the signs, but Moses still pushes back. Oh, Lord, I have never been eloquent. I am slow of speech and tongue. That fear of public speaking or maybe a speech impediment, it's so relatable.
It really is. And it shows God working with our weaknesses, not just erasing them. God's reply is quite direct. Who gave man his mouth? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say. But Moses, still deeply reluctant, basically says, please send someone else. Just find another guy. And this is where the tension peaks.
Yeah, the text says the Lord's anger burned against Moses, but even then, God provides a solution, right?
Exactly. Even in anger, God finds a way. He points to Moses' brother, Aaron the Levite, saying, he can speak well. Aaron will be Moses' spokesperson, his mouth. It's a partnership born out of Moses' insecurity and God's provision. So Moses takes the staff of God, gets assurance that those who wanted him dead are gone, and starts the journey back to Egypt. It's a huge step.
Okay, Moses and Aaron get back to Egypt. They gather the Israelite elders, perform the signs, and the people believe. They worship. Success. But the real test is Pharaoh. They go to him with God's message. Let my people go so that they may hold a festival to me in the desert. Pharaoh's response is just immediate, defiant dismissal. Who is the Lord that I should obey him? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go.
And that sets the stage for this epic confrontation, this contest of wills, of power. Pharaoh doesn't just say no. He immediately makes things worse. He orders the slave drivers, no more straw for the bricks. The Israelites now have to gather their own stubble, but still make the same number of bricks, an impossible task. The Israelite foremen get beaten. And in their misery, they actually turn on Moses and Aaron, blaming them, saying, you've made us a stench to Pharaoh. Moses himself despairs, goes back to God saying, basically, why did you send me? You haven't rescued them. And things are worse.
That must have been incredibly discouraging. Right at the start, it looks like failure, but God reassures Moses, reminds him of the covenant, promises action with a mighty hand, and this leads us into the plagues. How do these first judgments unfold?
Well, the first direct challenge is the staff turning into a snake. Aaron throws his down, it becomes a serpent. Pharaoh calls his magicians his wise men and sorcerers. They use their secret arts and do the same thing. Their staffs become snakes too. But then, and this is key, Aaron's staff swallows their staffs, a clear sign of superior power. Yet the text says, Pharaoh's heart became hard. Next is the Nile turning to blood. Moses strikes the river, all the water in Egypt turns to blood. Fish die, the river stinks, no drinking water. Again, the magicians manage to replicate this somehow, and Pharaoh's heart stays hard. The Egyptians have to dig wells for water.
So the magicians matching the first couple of miracles must have really boosted Pharaoh's confidence, right? But their power runs out, doesn't it?
It does. That's a fascinating progression. They can mimic some things, but there's a limit. By the third plague, the gnats, after Aaron strikes the dust and gnats infest people and animals, the magicians cannot replicate it. They actually tell Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. They recognize a power beyond their own tricks. But still, Pharaoh's heart was hard. And then with the fourth plague, the flies, God makes a clear distinction. He says the swarms will hit Egypt, but not the land of Goshen where the Israelites live. This is a powerful demonstration, separating his people. Pharaoh tries to negotiate sacrifice here in Egypt. Moses refuses, no, 3 days into the desert. And we see this pattern. Pharaoh softened slightly under pressure, then hardened his heart again as soon as the plague lifts.
Okay, so the plagues keep escalating, hitting closer to home for the Egyptians. We get the plague on livestock, all the Egyptian animals die, but not one animal belonging to the Israelites died. Pharaoh checks this fact, sees the difference, but his heart remains unyielding. Then, boils. Moses throws soot. Horrible, festering boils break out on everyone. Even the magicians can't stand before Moses. And here it says, God hardened Pharaoh's heart. And then the hail, the worst ever. Thunder and hail and lightning striking everything outdoors, people and animals. Except again, in Goshen, Pharaoh actually says, this time I have sinned, the Lord is in the right. He sounds penitent. But as soon as Moses stops the hail, Pharaoh and his officials go right back to hardening their hearts. This whole hardening the heart thing, sometimes it's Pharaoh, sometimes it's God. What's going on there? It feels complicated.
It is complicated, and it's one of the most debated aspects of Exodus. The text uses both phrases. One way to look at it is that Pharaoh's own pride and stubbornness were already there. God, in a sense, confirmed or strengthened that existing resistance to fulfill the precision. His larger purpose, which God explicitly states, is so that the story of his power over Egypt will be told for generations. Another view emphasizes God's sovereignty, that he's ultimately directing events. Maybe Pharaoh had passed a point of no return in his choices. What's clear is this interplay between human defiance and divine judgment. Pharaoh keeps resisting, and the consequences get more severe. It's a powerful narrative about the cost of pride and refusing to yield to divine authority. Not really simple cause and effect, more like a deepening spiral.
Right. So next, locusts. They devour everything the hail missed, just covering the ground, making it black. Even Pharaoh's own officials are urging him, do you not yet realize that Egypt is ruined? Let them go. Pharaoh tries another partial deal, okay. The men can go, but leave the women and children. Moses insists, nope, everyone goes. Young and old, sons and daughters, flocks and herds, all or nothing.
And that leads to the ninth plague, the darkness. This is terrifying. Total darkness over Egypt for 3 days. So thick, the text says, it can be felt. People couldn't even move. But, crucially, all the Israelites had light in the places where they lived. Another stark contrast. Pharaoh makes one last offer. You can go, take the people, but leave the livestock. Moses refuses again. Not a hoof is to be left behind. This is the final straw. Pharaoh explodes in anger. Get out of my sight. Make sure you do not appear before me again. The day you see my face, you will die. Moses replies grimly, just as you say, I will never appear before you again. The confrontation is over. Judgment is coming.
And this leads right into the ultimate judgment and the instructions for Passover. This is such a pivotal moment. God tells Moses about one last plague, the most devastating. At midnight, every firstborn son in Egypt will die. From Pharaoh's heir down to the firstborn of livestock, there will be loud wailing throughout Egypt. But for the Israelites, divine protection. Not a dog will bark at any man or animal. The distinction is absolute.
And before this happens, they receive these incredibly detailed instructions for the Passover ritual. Every household needs a perfect year-old male lamb or goat. Slaughter on the 14th day. Put some blood on the sides and top of the door frames. They have to eat the meat roasted with bitter herbs and unleavened bread and eat it dressed and ready to go in haste. The blood on the doorpost acts as a sign. When God passes through to strike Egypt, he will pass over those houses. And this isn't just a one-time thing. It's to be commemorated forever, for generations to come, a lasting ordinance. The detail shows its profound, enduring importance.
And then, exactly as God said, at midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn in Egypt. The cry of anguish across Egypt was immense, for there was not a house without someone dead. Pharaoh, finally broken, summons Moses and Aaron in the night and tells them, leave. Now, take everything. Take the flocks, the herds, just go.
The Egyptians themselves were pushing them out. Urged the people to hurry and leave, terrified, saying, for otherwise we will all die. The Israelites left so quickly they grabbed their bow before the yeast was added. That's why they baked unleavened bread on the way out. And there's that fascinating detail. They plundered the Egyptians. They asked for silver, gold, clothing, and the Egyptians, perhaps out of fear or relief, gave it to them. The text says God made the Egyptians favorably disposed. So about 600,000 men on foot, plus women and children, and all their livestock, they leave Ramses for Sukkoth. After 430 years in Egypt, to the very day, the text says all the Lord's divisions left Egypt. This is it. The Exodus.
They're free, finally out of Egypt. But freedom brings immediate challenges, especially out there in the desert. First, God establishes a permanent reminder. Consecrate to me every firstborn male, both human and animal, as a memorial of this deliverance. Then God leads them, interestingly, away from the direct route through Philistine territory. He feared if they faced war too soon, they might lose heart and want to go back to Egypt. So they take the longer desert road toward the Red Sea, and they have this incredible visible guide. By day, the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud, and by night in a pillar of fire, constant divine presence.
That visible guidance is so tangible, isn't it? Day and night, proof God is with them. But very quickly, they face their first massive test after leaving Egypt, the Red Sea. Pharaoh changes his mind again. He regrets letting them go, thinks they're lost, wandering around, hemmed in by the desert. So he mobilizes his entire army, including the elite force, 600 of the best chariots, and pursues them. So the Israelites look back, see Pharaoh's army charging, look forward, see the Red Sea. They're completely trapped. They are terrified. They cry out to God, but almost immediately start complaining to Moses. Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die here. That quick turn from faith to fear is just so human.
Absolutely. It's a recurring theme, isn't it?
Yeah.
The difficulty of trusting God when fear takes over, even after seeing miracles. Moses' response is powerful. Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still.
Mm-hmm.
Then that pillar of cloud moves, positions itself between the Israelites and the Egyptians, providing darkness for Pharaoh's army and light for the Israelites all night. Moses stretches out his hand over the sea. A strong east wind blows all night, and the waters divide, creating dry land through the sea, with water like a wall on both sides.
Incredible. The Israelites walk through on dry ground. But Pharaoh's army, their hearts still hard, they follow them right into the parted sea. Then God throws the Egyptian army into confusion, makes their chariot wheels get stuck. They realize the Lord is fighting for them against Egypt, but it's too late. Moses stretches his hand out again, the waters rush back, and the entire army drowns. Not one survived. Just an epic cinematic scale of deliverance.
And this amazing rescue leads immediately to the Song of Moses and the Israelites. It's this triumphant poem praising God as a warrior who threw horse and rider into the sea.
Yeah.
Miriam, Moses' sister, leads the women with tambourines and dancing. Pure joy. But the wilderness journey immediately starts testing them again. 3 days, no water. They reach Marah, the water's bitter, they grumble, Moses cries out. God shows them a piece of wood, he throws it in, the water becomes sweet. Then, in the desert of Fin, they grumble about food. They actually start romanticizing slavery. If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat, forgetting the bitterness, remembering the food.
And right there, we get another amazing provision, manna and quail. In the evening, quail fly in and cover the camp meat. In the morning, these thin flakes like frost appear on the ground, manna. Tasted like wafers made with honey. Yeah. God tells them, gather just enough for today. It's a daily test of trust and obedience. Don't hoard it. Except on the day before the Sabbath, gather double. And those who disobeyed, who tried to save it overnight, it bred worms and stank. But the Sabbath portion stayed fresh.
That daily provision, the manna and the Sabbath rule, reinforced dependence on God and taught them discipline. They couldn't rely on yesterday's miracle or hoard for tomorrow. Then further on at Rephidim, guess what? No water again. And again, they grumble against Moses. Moses is exasperated, tells God, they're almost ready to stone me. God tells him, take your staff, strike the rock at Horeb. Moses does, and water gushes out. But the place gets named Massa and Meribah, meaning testing and quarreling, a permanent reminder of their lack of faith.
Then there's another key event, the battle against the Amalekites. Joshua is chosen to lead the actual fighting, while Moses, Aaron, and Hur go up on a hill overlooking the battle. And here's that really strange symbolic detail. Israel prevails as long as Moses keeps his hands held up. When he lowers them, the Amalekites gain the upper hand. His arms get tired, so Aaron and Hur sit him on a stone and physically hold his arms up, one on each side until sunset. And Joshua wins. What a picture of communal support and the power of intercession.
It really is. It shows leadership isn't solitary. Divine help flows through teamwork, through others literally supporting the leader. And then we get this wonderful dose of practical wisdom from an unexpected source. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law. He comes to visit, bringing Moses' wife Zipporah and their sons. Jethro observes Moses sitting alone, judging the people's disputes from morning till evening. Everyone lining up, and Jethro wisely tells him straight, what you are doing is not good.
Yeah.
You and these people will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone. Sound familiar to anyone feeling overwhelmed?
Absolutely. Jethro's advice is basically, Management 101, delivered in the desert. It's pure delegation, he says. You, Moses, be the people's representative before God, teach them the laws, but appoint capable, trustworthy men who fear God and hate dishonest gain as officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Let them handle the everyday cases. Only bring the really difficult stuff to you. Share the load. Make your load lighter. And the text says Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. It shows even the most divinely appointed leader needs good, practical counsel and needs to empower others. Okay, so after about 2 months traveling, in the third month, they arrive. They reach the desert of Sinai and camp right there, before the mountain. This is the setting for arguably the most pivotal event in the whole story, defining their relationship with God. Moses goes up the mountain to God, and God lays out the deal, basically. You've seen what I did to Egypt. Now if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation.
And the people's response, at least initially, is unanimous and powerful. We will do everything the Lord has said. Well, so God prepares them for this direct encounter. They have to consecrate themselves, wash their clothes, set boundaries around the mountain. Don't touch it or you'll die. This intense preparation underscores the sheer holiness and power of the divine presence they're about to witness. It's not casual.
And then on the third morning it happens. Thunder and lightning, a thick cloud on the mountain, a very loud trumpet blast. The whole camp trembles. Mount Sinai is covered in smoke because the Lord descended on it in fire. The mountain itself shakes violently. The trumpet sound gets louder and louder. It's meant to be awe-inspiring, yes, but also terrifying. A display of overwhelming power and majesty.
And this dramatic scene culminates in God speaking directly the Ten Commandments. These aren't just laws, they're the bedrock of the covenant.
Yeah.
Starting with, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt.
Mm.
They cover fundamental ethics and worship. No other gods, no idols, don't misuse God's name, keep the Sabbath holy, honor your parents, and the core prohibitions against murder, adultery, stealing, false testimony, coveting. It's a moral framework that shapes civilizations.
But the people are completely overwhelmed by the spectacle. The thunder, lightning, smoke, the trumpet, they're terrified. They tell Moses basically, you talk to God for us, we'll listen to you, but don't let God speak to us directly or we'll die. Moses reassures them, says God came this way to test them, so the fear of God, this awesome respect, would keep them from sinning. So the people stand back, and Moses alone goes into the thick darkness where God was. He becomes a mediator.
And then, right after this incredible direct encounter with God's power and holiness, comes this shocking dramatic fall. Moses is up on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, receiving the details of the law, the actual tablets of stone inscribed by the finger of God. Down below, the people get restless, impatient. They go to Aaron and man, come, make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses, we don't know what has happened to him. And Aaron, oh, well, he caves. He collects their gold earrings, melts them down, and makes an idol, a golden calf. And the people declare, these are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt. It's just unbelievable, the complete betrayal so quickly.
They start celebrating, sacrificing to this calf. God sees it immediately, tells Moses how quickly your people have become corrupt. God's anger flares. He actually proposes wiping them out and starting over with Moses, making Moses into a great nation. But Moses, in this incredible moment of leadership, he intercedes. He pleads for your people, reminds God of his promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. He stands in the gap. And the text says powerfully, then the Lord relented and did not bring on his people the disaster he had threatened. Moses' intercession worked.
But when Moses comes down the mountain and sees the calf, sees the revelry with his own eyes, his anger burned. He smashes the stone tablets at the foot of the mountain, a visceral symbol of the broken covenant. Then he takes the calf, burns it, grinds it to powder, scatters it on the water, and makes the Israelites drink it, forcing them to internalize the consequence of their sin. He confronts Aaron, whose excuse is pretty lame. They gave me the gold, I threw it in the fire, and out came this calf. Really? Moses then rallies those loyal to the Lord. The Levites respond, and there's a grim consequence. About 3,000 people who persisted in the rebellion are killed by the Levites, following Moses' command. A harsh judgment. Moses goes back up to plead for the people again, even offering himself. Blot me out of the book you have written. God insists sin has individual consequences, but agrees the journey will continue, led by an angel. But he declares he won't go among them anymore because they're so stiff-necked. He might destroy them on the way.
So, despite this massive failure, this rebellion, God's plan for dwelling with them somehow moves forward. It's remarkable. Moses sets up a temporary tent of meeting outside the camp. When Moses went there, the pillar of cloud would come down, and the text says the Lord would speak to Moses face to face, as a man speaks with his friend. Intimate communication despite the earlier break. Moses then makes this passionate plea. Don't send us on without your presence. How will anyone know we're your special people if you don't go with us? And God relents again. I will do the very thing you have asked, for you have found favor in my eyes. Then Moses makes that incredibly bold request. Now show me your glory.
Yeah, that's a profound moment. God proclaims his character, compassionate, gracious, slow to anger, full of love and faithfulness, but also just punishing wrongdoing. He tells Moses, "You can't see my face and live. My full glory is too much." But he shelters Moses in a cleft in the rock, covers him, and lets him see his back after he passes by, a glimpse of overwhelming divine majesty, yet protected. And right after this, God tells Moses, "Chisel out 2 new stone tablets, just like the first ones you broke. I'll rewrite the words on them, a symbol of the covenant being renewed, restored after the breach."
Okay, so the covenant is renewed. Now the focus shifts dramatically to building the specific place for God to dwell among them, the tabernacle. Moses gathers everyone and calls for free will offerings. Specific things needed: gold, silver, bronze, fine yarns and blue, purple, scarlet linen, goat hair, special ram skins, acacia wood, oil, spices, precious stones. Long list.
And the level of detail in the instructions that follow is just staggering. It signals the immense importance of this structure. It's not just a tent, it's a microcosm of creation, a place where heaven and earth meet. Every element has meaning. The Ark of the Testimony, gold-covered, holding the tablets, God's Word at the center. On top, the atonement cover, or mercy seat, with 2 golden cherubim. God says he'll meet Moses there, between the cherubim, symbolizing his presence enthroned above his law, offering mercy. Then the table of presence for the sacred bread, the lampstand, menorah of pure gold, intricately shaped like an almond tree giving light. Everything built exactly to a divine pattern shown to Moses.
And the skill needed. God specifically appoints Bezalel from Judah, saying he's filled him with the Spirit of God, with skill, ability, and knowledge in all kinds of crafts. And Oliab from Dan is assigned to help him. These aren't just builders, they're divinely inspired artists. And the people's response to the call for materials: overwhelming generosity. They brought so much stuff, more than enough, that Moses actually had to tell them to stop bringing offerings.
Imagine that. It shows their eagerness, their desire to see this through, to have God dwelling visibly among them. The text then walks through the construction, piece by piece. The beautiful inner curtains woven with cherubim, the outer layers of goat hair and durable skins, the framework of acacia wood overlaid with gold, set in silver bases, the bars holding it together, the veil separating the holy place from the most holy place, where the ark would be, the entrance curtain, every measurement, every material specified. It's like reading architectural blueprints infused with sacred purpose.
And then the items for worship within this structure. The altar of burnt offering outside the tent itself, made of bronze, where sacrifices for sin would be made. The courtyard surrounding the whole complex, defined by linen curtains hung on bronze posts, creating a sacred precinct. And the bronze basin, or laver, placed between the altar and the tent entrance. The priests had to wash their hands and feet there before ministering or entering the tent so that they will not die, emphasizing purity needed to approach God.
And then the priestly garments for Aaron and his sons. These aren't just clothes, they're sacred garments designed for dignity and honor. Think of the ephod, like an apron with 2 onyx stones on the shoulder pieces, engraved with the names of the 12 tribes of Israel, carrying the people representatively before God. And the breastpiece of decision, worn over the heart. A square pouch with 12 different precious stones, each engraved with the tribe's name, again representing the whole community. Inside this breastpiece were the Urim and Thummim, mysterious objects likely used for seeking God's guidance in specific decisions. Aaron's robe was blue, with pomegranates and golden bells alternating around the hem. The sound of the bells signaled he was alive and ministering acceptably in the holy place. And on his turban, a pure gold plate engraved with the words, "Holy to the Lord," a constant declaration of sacred purpose.
Wow, the symbolism is just layered everywhere. Then there are detailed instructions for consecrating Aaron and his sons as priests, washing, dressing, anointing with special oil, specific sacrifices, and the altar of incense inside the holy place, gold overlaid, where fragrant incense was burned morning and evening, symbolizing continuous prayer rising to God. Also, this requirement for a half-shekel tax from every adult male for the service of the tent of meeting as an atonement offering.
Right. The sheer volume of detail emphasizes this wasn't optional or casual. This tabernacle was the design center of their life with God. The text then shifts to the actual construction, often repeating the instructions almost word for word to show how meticulously the Israelites followed them. The Israelites did everything just as the Lord commanded Moses. Moses inspects all the finished work, sees it matches the divine plan exactly, and he blessed them. And then, the culmination. On the first day of the first month, nearly a year after leaving Egypt, Moses sets up the tabernacle, piece by piece, exactly as instructed. He places the ark inside the most holy place, hangs the curtain, sets up the table, the lampstand, the incense altar, places the altar of burnt offering, the basin, erects the courtyard, he anoints everything, consecrates it. Then Aaron and his sons are washed, dressed, anointed. They are officially priests. And the final powerful image. As soon as it's all set up, the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. God's presence was so overwhelming, Moses himself could not enter initially. And this glory cloud by day, fire by night, hovering over the tabernacle, becomes their guide for the rest of their journeys. It wasn't just a symbol. God was literally dwelling among them, leading them.
What an absolutely incredible story we've walked through. From that small family of 70 to a nation escaping slavery, guided by fire and cloud, we've seen a leader, initially so reluctant, rise to the challenge. A powerful Pharaoh brought low, an entire people experiencing judgment, yes, but also profound deliverance and receiving this covenant that would shape their entire future.
Absolutely. And if you step back and look at the bigger picture, Exodus is this deep exploration of what freedom really means, the nature of covenant, that binding relationship with God, and the real challenges of living in relationship with a God who is both incredibly powerful and intensely holy. It's a story packed with lessons about leadership, about community, about human failings, and about how experiences, especially encounters with the divine, shape a people's identity.
So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening today? As you reflect on this deep dive, maybe consider those recurring patterns we saw. These amazing moments of God stepping in, often followed so quickly by human fear and grumbling. God's patience in teaching and providing, and that theme of hardened hearts, sometimes human choice, sometimes divine action. Do you see any parallels there for navigating your own life, especially when things feel uncertain or you face challenges?
Yeah, and maybe it raises this question. What does it mean for us today to feel led, perhaps by an unseen presence or a deep conviction, especially when the path forward isn't clear or it's difficult? How do these ancient ideas of covenant, of commitment, promises, belonging, and community resonate with how we think about our own commitments and relationships today?
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the book of Exodus. We really hope this has given you a richer, deeper understanding of this foundational and, frankly, absolutely epic narrative. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep getting well informed.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.